Sorry about
We
that.
will start. No problem. We will start fresh. Everyone, I'm prefacing this with we are having video problems. So you're going to be looking at the lovely multicolored screen at the moment. If Perry's video comes back throughout the call, it'll be great. And if not, it will be audio. And you can look at my pretty face. So I'm going to introduce Perry. I was on a dual narration. And I was saying before this call started that I was very, very spoiled because I do thrillers. I don't often do dual narrations. I have done a few in the past, but I've been lucky. Most of the male narrators have communicated and been professional. It's been a lovely experience. But when it comes to a thriller, I care a lot about the finished product. My name's on it. It's what I do. And this thriller was an amazing thriller, and I wanted it to be right so badly. I reached out tiny bit over enthusiastically to Perry in the beginning, and he was so nice. Oh, there you are. Lovely to see you, Perry.
I don't think it'll last long, but
It's okay. It's okay. We will go with the flow. But I was just what it was, you didn't make me feel stupid for my burst of enthusiasm. You were equally enthusiastic.
oh yeah.
You joined in on the book, and then I heard your narration. And I'm a longtime Harlan Coben, Linwood Barkley fan. Jeff Harding is like, oh my God, I listen to his narration. And you're like up there with the heavy, hard-hitting thrillers. I was like, this is going to be a book. This, and so that feeling when you get into a project and the other narrator is equally excited about it, equally professional, and they sound like you. I was just like, and I said afterwards, and you were very polite about it. Like, I think I even emailed Tantor and said, oh my God, best male thriller narrator. I might have embarrassed you at that point.
I mean, I appreciate it because when you asked me to have this conversation, I was a little baffled because you've had Jeff Harding, you've had Scott Brick and Johnny Heller and all these other people that I'm like, did I just get invited to the cool kids table? Oh my God. Like, I don't know why I'm in the same show that they've been on, but okay, I'm here.
Have you heard your narration? I mean, that's the thing. I don't know about all that. I'm hopelessly bad at the social hierarchy. I don't like have a clue, but I do know a pro when I hear it. And you like next level.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Really impressed. I told you, didn't I, after that book? I said, oh my God, one of my favorite male narrators on earth. And I don't think you believed me. You were like, that's nice.
I genuinely don't think about it, to be honest with you. I record my book, I send it off, and I move on to the next one. But I was equally excited by that one as you were, because just to share a little love, I also love your narration. You have such a smoky voice. You have such a I don't know the right smoky is the best word I have for it. I love your narration, particularly for thrillers. And so I'm also with you. I want more thrillers. I love doing thrillers. So when we got that one, this is why I'm here. This is what I want. I do all the other books for this kind of stuff. So I was equally just thrilled to get to do that. So
that's how I feel too. That's how it's they reached out. I had somebody reach out and say, could you do a book? When could you do it? And I was like, end of November. And they're like, a little bit sooner. I'm like, what? 5 minutes? I could do it now.
I could do it now.
You don't want to sound desperate, but when it's a book that sings to your heart, and that specific type of book, when it's a story that you're like, wow. I mean, it's okay. 10-year-old Perry.
Yes.
Can you please tell me about 10-year-old Perry?
I
What were
mean,
you doing? Were you excited? Were you planning the future? Where were you? Tell us about Perry.
oh, no, no planning the future. 10-year-old Perry's kind of my hero. I always
Oh,
sort of hope to be, I hope to have the blind confidence that that kid had because I looked like a chubby little Harry Potter. Um, it's kind of adorable in a goofy way. But I was always in my room building something, writing something, acting out a little scene, and I playing Power Rangers or something in there. I I lived in my head, but in a really fun, good way. That
I
that
love
that
that.
was 10-year-old Daniel.
I love that. What were your interests? Were you like, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to be an astronaut? Did you have any plans?
So like after the I want to be a policeman, fireman, astronaut phase that I think most kids go through, I wanted to draw comic books. And
Oh,
I started doing that for a while and realized really quickly that I didn't like the drawing part. I liked the writing part. And so I said, "Oh, I'll be a writer." And again, the just blind confidence of young Perry, I I wrote multiple novels, and we're talking novel length stuff when I was like
wow.
13. It's deeply terrible. But he didn't know any better, and that's kind of why I love him. It's kind of why I say like 10-year-old Perry was kind of my hero. He just did stuff and didn't think about it. And when I was like 15, sometime in high school, I took a drama class, did a British accent for something. And the teacher went, "Hang on, stay after class." And they were doing Peter Pan. And he had me do what I had done and said, "Do you want to be in a play? You can be Mr. Darling. We need somebody who can do a British accent." And I went, "Okay." And from then on, I went, "Hey, maybe actor's kind of cool. I can do that."
I love, I love, you made me flashback and remember something. I love, and it's so precious at that age, isn't it? Because when you talk about 10-year-old Perry and the confidence he's had, and I think that lack of awareness, we're still looking to other people to like figure out what we think, but we kind of know what we think, right? And I remember I won a competition in writing and I thought I
Mm-hmm.
was amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I was like, they asked me to go speak somewhere. I thought I was like amazing. I was like, I might be a writer. And I, eh, oh, okay, guys, we
He'll,
might lose
he
the picture on Perry's occasionally, but it will come back. So don't
yeah, he'll
worry.
he'll come back. I'm still here.
He'll come back. He's still there. So I thought I was going to be a writer. And I remember my mother said, well, for your age, it's a bit over dramatic, but for your age, I guess it's okay. And I believed that. So I was like, well, I guess I won't be a writer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because I was easily influenced. Were you easily in? Because that was positive. Your teacher saying you had a great British accent. Were you easily influenced by negative feedback as well, or were you kind of oblivious to it?
Nope. That's one of the reasons that I say younger Perry's kind of my hero. I didn't start getting influenced by negative feedback or what other people thought or any of that until I was in my 20s.
I
And
love that. I
it
love
it
that.
to be fair, it 100% ruined me in my 20s. Like life got so much harder. It was bad news bears. But up until that point, I just went forward and it always kind of worked. Like I stepped out and the ground rose up to meet me and I never thought twice about
What do
it.
you think
He's
changed? What do you think changed for you in your 20s that caused it to suddenly bother you?
um so it was two things. Number one, I started trying to take more control of my life, if that makes sense. I started trying to steer it more consciously, I guess. And I found in my life every time I've tried to really push it, really force something, really steer consciously, it's like the opposite of the Midas touch. Everything
Yeah.
everything goes to crap. The minute I can have that sort of blind confidence and just do whatever I just trust my instincts basically, it all magically works and I don't know, man. 10-year-old Perry knew what was going on. But the other thing was I went to college for acting. And at some point, I don't think it had anything to do with the acting. I think it was just life. Maybe something was going on at the time. I had a panic attack on stage. And
Mm.
I did not know what that was. I'd never had one before. No one had ever told me about them. I had no clue. All I knew was that one day on stage in front of people, I melted down, like quietly deep inside. Managed to make it off, shaking, sweating. And I had never had stage fright, ever. Not once. Again, blind, stupid confidence. And after that, I suddenly went, well, I think something broke inside of me, and I don't
Wow.
think I can do this anymore. And so I just stopped. I didn't act for years. It was
What did
weird.
you do during those years instead of acting?
Oh, I tried a lot of stuff. Hey, we're back. I tried a bunch of stuff. Um, and again, it was really just like, well, maybe I should go get a business degree or something. Maybe I should. And I hated all of it. I spent almost a decade trying to shove myself into a box I did not fit into. And when I tell you it ruined my 20s. It really did. It wrecked me. I ended up divorced by the end of it. I was badly unhealthy, badly overweight, just in a horrible place. And turned around when I started going, you know what? You have to be true to yourself. You you liked acting. You liked being that creative little kid. You got to go back to him. And that has served me well ever since.
This is exactly what we were talking about before the call, isn't it? It's the difference between living from the outside in and living from the inside out.
Yeah,
Trying to
absolutely.
like make yourself fit the mold as opposed to making the mold fit you.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we were talking about. Even down to when I started doing audiobook work, I told myself flatly, I'm not going to take anything I don't 100% want to take. I don't, money be damned. Screw it. I don't care. Unless I 100% want more of that, I'm not doing it. Period. I'm going to love doing this or I'm not doing it.
I found that a hard lesson. I found that
Yes.
a hard lesson. I I found that I don't give up the things I love because I want them so badly. But then I also have a problem saying no to the things I don't love. So then I just tell myself I'll do everything. And there literally isn't enough time in the world to do everything and to please everyone. And the more you try to
Yeah.
please everyone, like, have you ever noticed that the more you try, people don't thank you for it? They like don't respect you and you get less from other people by
Hmm.
trying harder for them.
Yeah.
Like people like the people that couldn't care less about them. It's I think like in school, like the girl and the guy, they like the one that doesn't like them back,
Hmm.
which is a
I mean,
bit,
it's true. And the more you can kind of, I don't know how to put this, the more you can focus on yourself, not in a selfish way, but the more you can put yourself first and pay more attention to what you want. And it does seem to draw people to you. It seems to make things go easier. It's the strangest thing, but
yeah.
it is true.
But you're doing them, it's kind of like what sparks, it's what you said about the books you do.
Hmm.
It's you're following what sparks joy. And I guess it's given to you for a reason. I'm not religious. So
Yeah.
it's whatever the calling to do something means there's something in you that wants to, like, I want to do a video on YouTube for my VR meditation, my
Hmm.
MetaQuest. But I've never done one because I'm not like one of those gamer people and nobody's going to listen to me. I thought, why am I getting the idea?
Hmm.
If I'm not meant to just do the stupid thing, who cares? Who
Yep.
cares? Right? Do what you
Yep.
want to do. So how'd you find your way into audiobooks?
By accident. So I mean,
But
I'm 100% with you. Anytime I can say that, anytime I want to do something, if I go do that, I'm not going to say it works out, but I feel better. And I love what I'm doing. Anytime I get in my head and go, I'm not sure if I should do that. Maybe nobody will like it. Maybe nobody will care. It goes completely sideways. And that's kind of what happened with audiobooks. I so I'm like 28, 29, something like that. Divorced, trying to get healthy again, trying to put life back together because literally my life had fallen completely apart, 100% apart. And I got a job cleaning offices, which best job in the world, by the way. Loved it.
Really?
Because yes, I if I ever need extra money, I would go back to cleaning offices in a heartbeat. I've done retail, I used to repair cell phones for a long time in college. Best job I've ever had is cleaning
Why? What
offices.
did you like about it? You didn't have to
You
deal
are
with people.
number one, didn't have to deal with people. You're by yourself. Nobody pays any attention to you. It's great. But I got to put on headphones and just listen to audiobooks all like from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. or whatever it was, wandering around dark, creepy offices, listening to Stephen King books or whatever. It was the best. And
That actually sounds like fun.
oh, it was great. I mean, the pay isn't the best, but like, talking to out of work actors who, go get a job as a waiter or whatever. No, 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 no. I mean, sure, a waiter would probably pay more. Clean offices, that's the best. So I start doing that. I go through audiobooks like it's going out of style. I mean, I'm going through an audiobook every day or two. I'm
Because
keeping
let
hmm?
me interject. Kim says she cleaned an athletic club and a doctor's office, and it's great. So you've got a fan base here.
It's absolutely the best. Well, and so I did that for a few years, and one night it just popped into my head. Hey, I wonder if I could do audiobook. Like, gee, that sounds like fun. I all the characters. I want to do that. And it reminded me like when I was a kid, I used to do that for fun. I'd be in my room and I'd read the books and I'd do all the voices just for me. And I'd completely forgotten about that. And so I just said, I'm going to clean out a closet and try it. And I got very lucky because my dad was a DJ when I was growing up. So he had a lot of equipment that I could just borrow and use and try. And I tried it and it kept working and it's never stopped working. And that baffles me, but I just keep doing it.
You're an extraordinary actor.
Well,
I
thank
mean,
you.
the samples you sent me, I was like, oh crap, he's really good. He's like gone out of his way and actually acted in the samples. I was just sending like a couple of clips of me on my tired old voice. And you're like, act the hell out of the 3 minute sample. um,
I,
you're you're a gifted actor. Now, did you ever pursue the acting again after the college incident?
no, not for a really long time. Between that and audiobooks, no.
Okay.
Um, Audiobooks, and that was another reason is I wanted to get back into it, and I said maybe I can try audiobooks, and it'll kind of shake the rust off. I haven't performed in years. I'm not sure I can still do it. So, no, audiobooks were kind of my way back in.
And do you do it full time now? I mean, what's your routine like with audiobooks? Like, are you an early morning guy, a late night? Do you still do the late night thing?
No, I try not to do more than about 3 or 4 hours a day. I find that after that it's diminishing returns. But no, audiobooks are other than my own stuff. I'm trying to do more YouTube. I've got a channel where I make stuff. We've only got 2 videos right now, but I got a lot of other projects for me. But no, as far as income goes, well, it's just audiobooks, and I do it mostly early afternoon, usually between about say 2 and 6.
I love that. I love that. That's like I found that I need to do it earlier, but my brain and my head and my voice aren't ready earlier. But I have a bird, and we got a bird thinking getting a dog would be too loud.
Hmm.
And turns out that a bird in full on screaming mode can get his voice through a booth two
Yeah,
rooms away with all the doors shut.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure that screech has got to just cut through anything.
Yeah, so I have to be back. I have to be back in the room at playtime 6 o'clock. So yeah, 2 to 6 sounds like a lovely schedule.
It's
Um,
it's not the worst.
yeah, it's perfect. Okay, so Dark Nights of the Soul, things you've learned. How long have you been narrating now?
We are coming up on 6 years.
Okay, so from when you started to now, How are you different?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
Either talent-wise, mindset-wise, attitude-wise, how you approach the job, your feelings about the job, because it's a steep curve when we start this gig, isn't it?
Oh God, yes. It is absolutely a steep curve. I so I would say that my biggest lesson has been getting back little by little to that stupid confidence
Mm.
that I learning more and more to just go, you know what? It was my instinct to do it this way. Screw it. I'm going to do it that way. And put everything else out of my head and just go, you know what? If I do a bad job, they'll stop hiring me and that's how I'll know. And the more
Ooh,
I've been
that's
able to do that,
brave.
it
I think you just literally made all of our hearts stop.
I like I said, I quite literally at the start of this, and I have been mostly true to it. I said at the beginning of this journey, I will not do it if I don't like it. So I I'm going to do all the voices that I feel like doing. I'm going to do them as big and as bold or wild as I feel is appropriate. And I try to be very cognizant of what the listener's experience is going to be, but I'm going to do it the way I feel like I'm doing it, the way I want to do it, the way it's fun for me, the way it's interesting for me. And if that doesn't work, then you cannot hire me because that's who you're going to get. Like I'm not going to show up and be somebody else. If you're hiring me, this is what you're getting. If you don't want that, there's plenty of other people behind me who can do this.
Do you have that conversation when you have that conversation when you work directly with writers up front? How does that conversation go with you and writers?
I don't do a lot of working directly with writers anymore. Um, in large part because of that. Because I'm sorry, you're not going to have a whole lot of input. You get some. I want what you have to say about your characters and what you think about them. And if you kind of hear a certain voice in your head, by all means, let me know, and I will attempt to take that into account. But for the most part, no, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And that the last couple of books that I've done sort of independently, which again I do not do very many, but the last few that I have done, they got me because the author came to me and said, I like what you do, and you have full creative control. And I said, well,
Yeah.
flattery will get
Aren't
you
they the
everywhere. Thank you so much.
best?
Yes,
Because
God,
they're
yes.
confident, because that is a writer that's confident. I've done my best work. I respect you as a fellow artist. You do your best work. I'm in your hands. There's a letting go.
Hmm.
And you always know at because I'm much the same. You have all the input in the world. Throw it at me. I want to hear everything you have to say up to and after you've listened to the 15-minute sample.
Hmm.
And I will do it again if I think we can get on the same page.
Yeah.
But I know they say, oh, do two samples. If you don't feel it in your gut and it's not 100% wonderful,
Hmm.
then guess what? We shouldn't proceed. And
Yep.
every time I give in and don't pay attention to that, because I stopped working directly with writers for many years. I've just this year started taking a few on. Every time it's ended up a nightmare. Not a nightmare, but like
Oh,
I'm
I
on
know
to
what
the
you mean.
next book. I don't have time. I don't have 20 days to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
over every single sentence.
Yeah. That right there is the one thing about audiobooks that I don't like is how quickly you have to go through it. Like it's a game of scale, and
Yeah.
I wish I could slow down. I wish I could take more time with certain books. How are you enjoying your experiment working with writers? How is that going?
I I tried at the beginning of the year, I said, because I learned from Hannibal Hills how to find writers that its books numbers added up so I would make money.
Hmm.
So I reached out to a few writers, knowing that I had that math on my side, so that I didn't care if they went royalty share per finished hour because I knew either way I would be paid for my time.
Right.
So I reached out to, I said I'd have 2 or 3 slots that year I'd keep free for royalty share or PFH, what they wanted.
Right.
But what I didn't know was that how well it would work. and that they would refer me. Yeah, it was Sleuthy. Kim says Sleuthy is Hannibal's site, which is amazing. But I didn't know how that they would refer me to their fellow writers, and that other writers would reach out to me, and that the ones with the really, really good books, suddenly they're like 3 in a series, and a series makes more money royalty share on Audible. And then because I had these great indie top level, well-selling books in my portfolio, I don't know if the publisher saw it or if I was just feeling confident and putting out good energy.
Right.
Suddenly I'm getting booked for more of those books through the publishers, books that I couldn't possibly say no to. So I might have gotten a little bit overconfident schedule wise.
No.
So next year I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to say, if I reach out individually to an indie writer, I'm going to say the deal is, I've already done the numbers. I know your book's going to make money. There's never a guarantee ever with royalty share,
Right.
but I have faith that your book's going to make money. But in order for me to do a royalty share agreement, I will not be, I'll have a delivery date at the end of the year. So that way I will truly be able to fit them in alongside publisher jobs, because that's the problem. You feel an obligation to. I ended up with 15 indie writers on top of my publisher books, and I looked up. I had a bad month, and I ended up with like a lot. And even just taking time, sent all the emails saying, I'm so sorry.
Right.
I lost my eyesight for a couple of weeks this summer. For a narrator, that's not ideal.
Yeah, no. Jeez.
So
I like your idea of putting the delivery date at the end of the year.
yeah.
That's I will be very curious as to what your experience is with that, because I think that's a really good idea. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Then there's no pressure.
Yeah.
You're doing them a favor, because if they can't afford to get their book done, and I will put 150% in every single book I do. I'm not going to, it's a royalty share, so I'm going to do a not as good of a book.
Right.
I've reached out to them because I love their book passionately and I believe in them and I know we can make money off of it. And they're all lovely when you send them emails and say, because you're supposed to juggle the royalty share around other books. And to be fair, I was astonished. At first it was 50-50. Now it's more 75-25. They prefer per finished hour.
Yeah. See,
because you've done the numbers. They know they're going to make money off of it. Why would they not want per finished hour?
That has been my experience. What little I've had of it is that if it's a good book that's really going to sell, they know it damn well, and they don't want royalty share. They absolutely know it. I'll pay you up front, and then I get the rest of it, which totally fair, but they know it.
Yeah. The first one I reached out to, he did an interview, Writer's Cup of Joe, and I think he's had like 20,000 people watch his video. And he was per finished hour. Of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, maybe I should have.
Right? Maybe I should have negotiated harder. Yeah. See, and again, I don't do a whole lot of working with writers. It's just not my bag. I maybe should try, like you, maybe I should take some time and try more of an experiment with it.
Doing it differently was the game changer.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's very clear boundaries, very clear, because the one time I told you about, the one time I screwed up and wasn't doing, but being prepared to say no. But the difference, Perry, is that I've curated my portfolio, and it's also, I have got books that I love with all my heart and soul. So if the publishers want to send me a couple of books about, like, putting plaster on walls, that's fine.
Right.
Because, I've got a great serial killer book coming up.
Right. That's about the only reason I take royalty share these days, is I just assume I'm not going to make anything, but you're going to pay me in me getting to put something on my resume that I want on my resume.
Yeah.
Oh, I get to do this dialect that no publisher's ever hired me to do. Absolutely. I'll do your book for free. No problem. Like that's mostly been my experience with royalty share. You get paid in other ways.
Except Except if you go through Sleuthy, you get paid for the royalty share.
Oh,
You do
oh,
the
I'm going to look
numbers.
into that. I'm absolutely going to look into
Definitely.
that.
Yeah, because you filter and you only search for books that are already likely to make money.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that because
Yeah.
thus far I have not taken royalty share as anything other than, do I get to do something that I want to do? Something I
Yeah.
haven't been hired to do? Absolutely,
Yeah.
I'll take that. Now I'm going to look into Sleuthy. That sounds, I should look into this more. I really should. I should follow
Yeah.
your example on this one.
It is a game changer. I have been more busy and more fulfilled than, and I am not, I hate the people. I hate, you're not supposed to hate it. You're supposed to be happy for the people that go on and say, I did 60,000 books this year and I'm just so grateful and blessed and I'm counting my blessed. Thank you. Could you shut up? Some of us here didn't, and you want to be
Yes.
really, really happy. And I am very, very happy for them. But for this year, I'm saying, I'm not saying I've done this. Oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm saying, come do this. Check it out.
Yeah.
Let's all do this. It's like I told that software engineer that wanted me to help him with AI. I said to him, I'm sorry, I'm really, really busy helping writers and other narrators take jobs away from AI. So
Yeah.
I don't have time. He kind of
Yeah.
disappeared after that. But that's what I want. I want us all to start taking control, because if you're only working with publishers, how are you bulletproofing your career? That's what turned me around to
That's a
start
great point.
reaching out to writers.
That's a really great point. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
in control now.
well, and I think there is something to be said for once you're more established, kind of going back to doing more independent, because I think when I first started, I started on ACX, like I think a lot of people nowadays do. And it's very, very difficult not to go with ACX at the beginning and feel a sense of real desperation of, I have to get something, anything, please, dear God, just somebody hire me. And that is just a recipe for disaster. So
Yeah.
I can imagine coming to it being a little bit more established and a little more confident to be able to say, no, here are my rules. This is how we're going to play this game.
Yeah.
I'm all right. You have convinced me. You have very well convinced me to look more into this.
And when you were talking about the royalty share books that you've taken on in the past, the reasons you were taking those books on, if I were you personally, I've done public domain books for that reason. I
Hmm.
love the subject. I've always loved the writer. I want to add this to my portfolio, but I'm still getting royalty shares from those public domain books that I did. Every like 3 months, I'm getting royalty shares. Not a lot, but I did
Right.
them like 7 years ago, and every 3 months I get a little something. So I wouldn't do a royalty share off ACX for a writer that's never marketed and doesn't know how to market and is a little
Hmm.
confused about the whole thing. As much as I loved it, um, it's not going to help me. It's not going to help the writer at that point, at the point that they're at. I
Hmm.
would do a public domain for those reasons. I would do a royalty share with a writer if I found it through Sleuthy or looking at the numbers myself. And I thought there was a good chance both the writer and I would make money off of it, because there's an imbalance. If you're doing royalty share, then you're just like working for free. Then that's not a
Hmm.
good feeling. And and but if you're doing it and there is a chance that you and the writer can both make money off of it. And to be fair, the way I said that I would work it is I would do it alongside, so I would double my workload. So I would do a royalty share in half the time and do a paid book in half the time, so I could
Hmm.
afford to do it and not worry about risking the money. But that's not sustainable for very long.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
definitely do it, because there's a male thriller narrator and you go and look at the numbers, and with your voice, I mean, seriously, send them a clip to a couple of your books, you know what I mean, and your website, then they know that you're a professional, they can take you seriously.
Yeah.
You'd be doing books you loved.
You've definitely convinced me. That's the move I ought to make, because yeah, I've largely stayed away from it, but no, you've convinced me. Well done. I'm going to look into Sleuthy particularly.
And the truth is, if you're upfront with the writers, and I said this to a writer the other day, the hardest part is that I have a conversation with them. Hannibal told me this, and I was very reluctant to do this, because I thought this is opening the door to all the micromanaging. Hannibal's like, people want to deal with somebody that they've talked to.
Mm-hmm.
So I send a letter to them, and I say, I'm happy to have a chat with you. Once you've met someone in person, then they know you're a real person. You know they're a real person, and you genuinely like each other. The trick is, it's royalty shares, so they're thinking I could get my book in audio. You
Mm-hmm.
love each other. You've already met each other. And
Yeah.
then you go and do the book, and you're not the right voice for it. There's a chance a lot of books were not the right voice for it.
Yep.
That's the part where I feel bad. And the one or two times I've said, I don't think we should proceed. I'm not the right, if you want that many changes, it's not going to be right. But I like them, and I
Yeah.
love their book, and I said I'd do it. You got to be firm. But if it matches, you've got a new friend that's also a freelancer, and you can learn a ton from them just by knowing them.
Mm-hmm.
Just by
Yeah.
knowing them, it enriches your life. It's worth it.
Yeah. I will have to do more of it, because I will say, you saying that, I do not know, and I've never really wanted to ask, but one of the royalty share, I think the first royalty share book I ever did, may have actually gotten me in the door with Tantor. That, like, I'd emailed them a couple of times trying to get on their roster, and a writer that I had done a royalty share book with got picked up. One of his books got picked up by Tantor, and he specifically requested me.
Yeah.
I've never found out if it was my emails or that or yes, but yeah, I'm gonna have to look more into this. I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Writers can be our dearest friends. They are there's nobody in the world that
Yeah,
understands our job and appreciates it as much as a writer.
yeah. I
you
mean,
know
what am I gonna read without you?
and it's an intimate relationship, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Because you are the voices in their head, like, to a
Well,
great
and
extent.
I have one fantasy series that I have told this writer. He came to me and said, "You have full creative control. Whatever you do is great." And I love the book. I like dealing with him. He's great. Uh, we get on so well that I don't care if it sells. You sell it, don't sell it. I don't care. I like doing it. I want to read this book one way or the other. So, which is maybe not the best place for me to be as a business person, but I don't care. It's fun.
But and I challenge that, because I get that people say we're business people too. I'm sorry, that's something we have to do, but we are actors. We're
Yes.
creatives. So yeah, do I think one or two of the books that I've done might not sell a ton? So maybe I won't make a lot of money, but do I have a book that's slick and gorgeous in my portfolio that I can then, if I ever do decide to do an award thing, or,
Yeah.
but I'm sending it to publishers saying, look what I've recently done. I'm doing promo videos. I'm using it for my marketing. I'm putting it on social media. It's in my portfolio telling people what kind of work I do. How have I lost?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's nobody's forcing me to spend the hours. It's like I could do what a lot of people go do your vegetable garden and take long walks, and that's lovely. But obviously I'm not very good at it. Might as well be doing the
Right. But
couple more thrillers.
there's also something to be said for, I am going to have to live in this world for hours every day in my cooped up little booth, just me. If I hate this book, no amount of money in the world is going to make that better. I'll just be miserable and pay bills, which I can do in a lot of other jobs. It's way more important to me, at least, that I'm having fun with this. I love this world. I want to be in this world. The money is great. I'm here for that. But you have to check that first box for me first. That
It
has to
feels
be there.
good. And when you don't,
Hmm.
have you done that book where your brain hurts. You have no idea how you can finish.
Yes. Yes.
Time is so slow.
I did, I think it was like my third book for a professional for like a publisher, and it was about baseball scouting, how to be a baseball scout and what they look out for and all this stuff. The book itself is great, I'm sure, if you're into baseball. The quality of the book is not the problem. I do not know sports, do not understand baseball, do not know what any of the numbers you're saying. It was the most painful book I've ever had. The most painful narrating experience.
And what you
I'll never
say,
do it again.
I was tempted to like stop you, like, oh no, don't, because everyone's going to watch this. They might recognize the book. But
Nope.
no, but to be fair, you're not trashing the book. It's,
No, not at all. It's
and we
me,
all have
100%.
that book that we just don't suit. We
Yep.
just don't suit. I had a book that was religious. I have no problem with other people's religions. That's fine. And I've narrated quite a few, and I think I've done a good job acting. But this one had a thing with telling women what women should do. I guess that's part of the belief.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with what, like, I'm halfway through the book going, no.
Yep. I'm getting more and more to that point with just any political book. I'm getting this close to just saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Not because of the books, but because I don't want to I don't want to spend my whole day reading this and thinking about this. I want to have fun.
But
Like
that's a good place to be at, because then we're having the guts to say this. It's owning who you are. The sooner we figure out who we are and own it, and then have the guts to speak it. This is who I am. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not so good at.
Yeah.
Then we're not wasting people's time, and people respect that. People don't like, if you're a person that's going to go over every single word and make sure that every single word is exactly the way you wrote it, I'm probably not the best girl for you. If you're
Yeah.
someone that wants to like listen to your book and cry your eyes out, I'm your girl.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are narrators that are really, really, really good at making every single word match, and like they're technically checking everything. Accents. If you want an accent that's going to pass any dialect coach on earth, probably not me. I can do a couple of secondary accents really well. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you get a professor from like that place to come and listen to it, I'm not going to pass the test. That's not my thing. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I'm with you. But at the same time, for me, I love doing the dialects. I mean, I'm going to try to do them to the best of my ability, but I'm going to go in knowing that, yeah, all right, somebody's going to have a problem with this, that, or the other thing, but this is fun for me. It's a fun challenge. I want to do, I'm really just way more inclined to do things like that. That's the fun part, and I don't really care about the rest.
Oh, your characterization in that. I'm sorry to keep going back to it.
No,
Your
no.
characterization just in the samples was like amazing. I mean, you
Well,
tell
thank you.
one hell of a story, Perry. I'm sorry. Can you
I
tell
don't
I'm a
know.
big fan?
You flatter me all day long if you want. I'm fine with it. I can sit here for that. Don't
So,
threaten me with a good time.
okay, so you mentioned that you discovered audiobooks, that everything had fallen apart and you built it back up again, which I love. That's the great hero arc of every book, isn't it?
Yep.
You know, the before and after, look what I've done it, the shining light for other people that might be going through their dark nights of the soul. Do you ever consider live acting again?
Yes. I I am beginning more to think about that now. For a long time, it has just been audiobook work, just because, like I said earlier, it started working and it never stopped working. And I've just never questioned that fact. I don't want to tug at that thread too hard for fear that it might unravel. I don't really think that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't every actor think that way?
Yeah, like I'm lucky today, but oh God.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I am waiting. I'm waiting for the day that, I'm waiting for the day that Scott Brick shows up on my doorstep and says, "No, there's been a terrible mistake. I'm going to need that microphone from you. Never read out loud again. I'm so sorry. Somebody made a horrible mistake along the way."
But the ironic thing is, we think that working at such and such XYZ corporate office, then we're safe. When you work at
Right.
such and such XYZ corporate office, you think you've got a job for life. And
Yep.
like, you are less likely to keep your job than we are as freelancers because you don't have control. We have
Hmm.
control. We
Well,
can
and
get on Sleuthy, do a public
that's
domain book, and create work.
that is absolutely one of those things I learned in my 20s is that I can be broke and miserable at a job I absolutely hate. I might as well be broke and happy doing a job I enjoy. So screw it. I'd at least rather take this chance. This is way more fun.
And if worse comes to worse, you could just pick up a survival job in the end and clean offices at night and then go back and do books. That's what cracks me up is, and I've got a question for Kim. I haven't forgotten. Just one last thing. This is what cracks me up. And it's not, I think it's terribly sad. So I say cracks me up, but it's not.
Yeah.
I see this all the time. Voiceover and narrators doing it's been wonderful. I tried to make it work. I've gone through, and it's always from that feeling of depression and scarcity. You can feel that they've been through it and worried for months and months. Tried to make it work. I've decided I have to get another job because I can't pay the bill. I see this all the time, right? And I'm like, why? Like, have you never been an actor? It's like, I think actors have an advantage because when I was an actor, being unemployed is not special
Yeah.
because
Oh no.
you're going to be unemployed much more than narrators. And everyone you know is going to be unemployed. And you just like get a waitress job or clean an office
Hmm.
and you pick up the next acting gig. But narrators and voiceover people, we've had it easy because the amount of opportunities. So we go a few weeks or months and we have to get another job. It's like, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do a survival job. Just
Yep.
a couple of months, do this, do that, and you don't have to quit. You can be
Yep.
both.
Yeah.
And they think, like, why do you have to quit? You've got the booth. You take on it, you keep looking for work while you're doing the other job.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, it's I think the minute I switched in my head at least to saying that those survival jobs are so I get to do the other thing, not I
yeah,
can't do the other thing, so I have to go. No, no, I'm doing this so I can do that. At that point, what's funny is once I kind of made that switch, I really haven't had to have a survival job since. There is something about that blind confidence that if you just step forward the ground will rise to meet you. I do not get it. It is the scariest thing in the world. But anytime I have approached life, the universe, and everything, but particularly this work with neediness, and oh my God, I have to do it, has to be this way. I can't have a survival job. I have to make this work in 6 months, or it never works. And it almost seems to go out of its way to fight you. But the
because
minute I
like
just,
attracts like. Because your energy, if you've got a positive can do, I've got it energy, then I think it works two ways. You notice the things that are going well. And because you're focusing on the things that are going well, you're more relaxed and doing well. And because you're more relaxed and doing well, more things go well. But
hmm,
if you're thinking about the things that aren't going well and that could go wrong, then you're all tight like this and you're not going to do well and you're going to get sick. And in this job,
yeah,
your voice is going to tighten up. You're going to barely be able to finish the day because you're like this. So
yep,
that scarcity attracts scarcity. And we're animals at the end of the day, aren't we? So
hmm,
we sense, I think that's the thing. It's what we were saying in high school. Like if you're too desperate for somebody, then they're not going to like you back because we're animals and everyone's afraid, so they're going to avoid fear like the plague because who wants to be around fear? So if you're
yep.
showing confidence, I did survival jobs when I first started narrating. And one of them was at like a specialty food store. I was on a diet. It was like a bit crazy. The other one, I was in a hair salon. working nights in a hair salon, and I was complaining to Anna all the time, saying, I don't have enough time. I've got to finish this book. And I can't, every time I leave the house, my brain isn't right. So I can't finish this book. She's like, Daniela, why are you doing these jobs if you're already time you're
Yep.
being paid? I'm like, oh.
Yep.
You know, it's what you said. You don't need it if you're not worried and stressed and freaking out.
There is something in it. I like it. It has been like the biggest lesson of my existence is that if I start second guessing myself, if I start getting in my own head, it's going to go wrong. The
Yep.
universe will fight you at every turn. If you can
Ten-year-old Perry has got it.
just go with, yeah, he knew what was up. That kid, he was smart. But like, if you could just again, step forward in total blind faith. I don't know why, man, but the road rises to meet you. It's the most cliche thing, but it's been true for me.
I think it's one of the truest things like in the world. It's like reviews. It's like what we were saying. I said that I had a writer that was like going through every single word
Mm-hmm.
very carefully. And I was tense. I didn't realize it. I'm here doing another book and I'm sitting here going,
Yeah.
are they going to want corrections? You know, am I going to have time for these corrections? And then I got an email from the writer that I'd done the book afterwards. And, you know, I mean, we love people. I'm not my
Yeah.
ego thing, but he said very nice things like, oh my God, I cried. You're wonderful. All of a sudden, life was good and easy.
Yep.
I was relaxed. And
Ha.
little switch in your head from being, and that's not easy, right? When you start and I'm aware a lot of narrators watching this show, when you're looking for ACX auditions and you've only got 2 books and you're trying to get the work and you're not sure yet how to get the writers and some of them are critical, it's not
Mm-hmm.
easy because you're saying 10-year-old Perry, but you're like a pro and you've got some heavy hitting books under your belt. Do you know what I mean? You've like earned your relaxation. You
I
know what I
I
mean?
I understand what you mean. Um, it has been, I will say this though. This is the one bit of advice. I don't often get asked for advice by like narrators just starting out, but the one piece of advice I have is to go forward from day one with that as much of that level of confidence as you can muster. Because there are days I can't muster that. You know, I still have books I choke on and get too in my head about every single time, but it is the one bit of advice that served me well from day one, and that is number one, accept that you're going to make this work. Even if you got to get a survival job, if it takes 10 years, it takes 10 years. Put that out of your head. And do not take anything that doesn't 100, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Because the second you start taking books you don't really want, you're going to get more of the books you don't really want. If you take things that you're not excited about, you're going to get more of that. And people can smell that neediness and fear a mile away. It will creep into what you're doing. 100% of the time, just pick that thing that you're like, yes, I absolutely want that. That's the only advice I have ever been able to give.
I love that. That's actually the last question I always ask everyone. You gave me the answer without, and it's
Ah, damn it.
perfect. Actually, now that gives me, I can sneak in a cheeky. Kim has a question.
Yeah.
So, you're off the hook for if you could give the audience one piece of advice. So I'm going to use that. Kim says, do you have a favorite character that you performed?
Ooh. Can I cheat and give you 2?
Yeah.
Okay. I just did a book, and I do not know how listeners are going to like it. It was one of those, this is how I feel it ought to be done, so I'm doing it, called Red Planet Blues. And it's a hard-boiled Raymond Chandler style detective story set on Mars. And
Ooh.
the writer, and I don't normally get to talk to the writers through a publisher, but they sent his stuff along and he said, I'm looking for Humphrey Bogart. And so I got to give it some Bogart flavor. That has been the most fun I've had in a minute. Um,
Wow.
I've I that might get ripped to shreds on Audible. I have no clue, but I
Do you
had fun.
listen? Do you read your reviews?
Yeah. I mean, and
Do you?
not as much as I used to. I used to read them all the time, and you're gonna think I'm nuts, but I like the negative ones. They make me laugh. I love that somebody on some book, I can't even remember what, said that I was the worst narrator they have ever heard.
Oh
That
yeah. I
cracks me
no, I'm
up.
the worst narrator.
Yeah. Like it is not the superlative I was aiming for, but by God, I'm gonna take that. My
Do you know
first
that we've all gotten that one? Every single one of us have been told we're the worst narrator they've ever heard.
It cracks me up. I love it. My first review ever, first book I ever did, first review said the narrator was fine. And I died laughing at that. I still want to print it and frame it because fine, I will take fine all day long. Fine, absolutely, that's a win, man. I love fine. They crack me up. The reviews just make me laugh. Well, I have
Yeah.
occasionally gotten the like, oh, that's a good point. I should change that or whatever. But most of the time, there's just they make me laugh.
Oh no, Kim's got someone said they hated my voice so much that they stopped listening and read the book.
Ah, okay. Is it just me, or is that kind of amazing? Is that a weird take? Like, I think that's I don't know. I guess it's always been one of my things, just as an actor. I never want to be in the average, right? I don't want to be in the middle of the bell curve. If I'm on one end or the other, I'm going to make a really bold choice. Just I'm going to go for it. That might alienate you, but at least I'm not in the middle. At least I'm not where everybody else is going to be. So I'm like, when somebody says, "Oh my God, I hated your voice so much," hey, at least I had an impact. I love that. I think that's great. I know that's weird.
Yeah. I'm a they either hate me or they I always say if I haven't heard back from an audition like almost immediately, I know I didn't get it. And people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, just hold on." I can tell you right now, I'm not someone that people have to make up their mind about. They either
And,
hate me or they love me.
and I
And
think that's the place to be. I think that is
yeah,
right where you want to be as an
yeah.
actor. I mean, I think that's the sweet spot, personally.
And as a person.
Hmm?
As a person as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Bold
They don't do
choices.
yeah, they don't do the cattle call style auditions anymore where you're in a room with like 30 people who all look like you and can do this equally well. But that's always what I think of. I want to figure out some way to stand out from you guys who are all equally talented, all look exactly like me. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it boldly. I'm going to pick something big. I'm going to make a real definite choice. If you hate it, at least I made an impact, I guess.
And sometimes I've got to say, I did get a lingerie commercial in a big spread in the Sun over here, the Sun newspaper,
Uh-huh.
because I was from my agency sent me to this thing. I had no idea. And the girl that originally booked it, they sent her out of the room because she was too pretty. So I got the gig instead.
I think that's
But
marvelous.
fine.
That is the kind of thing that I'm like, that is great. That is a marvelous way of doing this.
Yeah, might as
I think
well.
that's amazing.
I mean, the agency's name was Ugly. And they
That's
got
less great.
no, it was very cool because they got people that didn't look the norm.
Uh-huh.
So people with mohawks and
Yeah.
I got some really great gigs with them. They were a really cool agency.
Man, I'd rather stand out. It's
Yeah,
just I don't see another way of doing this. It's
yeah.
way too
But
easy to get lost in the shuffle.
but it's also not it's you can try to blend in all you want and you never will. People will hate you for it. They
Yeah.
will, you
Well,
know.
and it's why I say I'm going to make the choice I make. And if that's not right for you, then I'm not right for you. And you can stop hiring me. Go hire somebody. There's plenty of other people right
Yeah.
behind me in line who can do this equally well and give you exactly what you're looking for. So if it's not me, there's no hard feelings. None
And having
whatsoever.
the
That is totally fine.
courage to say that out loud, having the courage to just say, this is who I am, take it or leave it.
I blind, foolish courage. I wish
I don't think it's
Elizabeth,
foolish. I think it's brave.
well, so Elizabeth Gilbert has a phrase that I love. She calls stubborn gladness. And I love that phrase,
Ooh,
stubborn
I like that.
gladness. Don't you love that? And
do.
I'm trying to figure out what is the like pithy version of this level of confidence. I have yet to figure it out, but it's that. And if you can have that, you're on the right track. It's not easy, and it's definitely not something I can keep up consistently. But it's like it's a North Star that whenever I come back to that, I have no reason in the world, none, to be this confident about anything I'm doing. But when I do it, I then get the reasons to be confident. I don't know how it works. It's bizarre.
But also the gladness thing. People don't like happy people either. Subconsciously, it makes them feel, why can't they be happy? So the whole world is set up to make you less because it's the lowest common denominator. What is it? The dandelions or the crabs? Nobody wants to stick. What is it? Is it the crabs? If a crab, no,
They're
lobsters.
trying to crawl out of a bucket. They'll pull you back down. Yeah. I think it's crabs.
Lobster. Crabs.
One
if
of
a
them.
crab tries to crawl out, all the others will pull him down.
Yep.
Why did they do that?
I have no idea. I think they're all still climbing. Everybody's trying to climb up. So they're trying to climb up you and they end up pulling you down. I think.
Yeah. 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 I think we really have a profound point there. I just might have gotten lost in the weeds. Okay. I'm going to let you go, but I want to hear one last thing. You said you had 2 favorite characters.
Oh, right. I have done it's like the longest running series I have. I have lost count of these books. T.R. Harris is the author, and it's like a space opera. And those are my favorite. The hero's name is Adam Kane, and he is just everything you'd want to be in a, wink and a smile, smart ass kind of hero. I adore getting to do those. That is like slipping into a comfortable pair of shoes. I can just come home to that with every new book, and I adore getting to do those.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when the characters become your friend.
Oh, absolutely. Just getting to I squeal like a little fangirl when I'm reading the books and somebody from like 4 books ago comes back, and I get so delighted. Oh yes, I get to do that again. Thank God.
It's like Cheers. Norm.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, speaking of, because you said that, let me see if the camera will work again for a second. Did you see my BB Newer? Oh no, damn it.
Ah.
I literally have a picture of Lilith Sternin Crane from Cheers right behind me. I keep her in my booth.
Why? Are you a fan of Lilith?
So I don't know if you remember this episode, but there's an episode where it's like for their anniversary, she gets Frasier a picture of her on a bearskin rug, but she's like fully dressed in her Lilith, pantsuit kind of thing. But it's her just laying fully clothed on a bearskin rug. That picture makes me laugh every time I watch that episode, that I literally printed it out to keep in my booth. It delights me so much. She's like a weird kind of spirit animal, man.
I love that. I love that. Okay. I think that is the perfect note for us to...
Yep.
Lilith on a bearskin dress. This was the call we needed tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, Perry. It's been a pure delight. And you guys, Perry, what was the name of the book? I remember your acting. I can't remember. The Killer's Wife, right?
Yes, The Killer's Wife. That's the one we did.
Perry Daniels in The Killer's Wife. Wow. Big fan.
Both of us. That book is killer, no pun intended. So anybody who hasn't heard it, you should go hear it because it's great.
Very rarely am I shocked by a book. Very rarely. That was a good, yeah.
Yeah.
You are the best. Thank you so much, Perry. It's been fabulous. Thank you guys for joining as well. Mwah! Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Daniela.
Bye.